the Karl Auto Group Collision Centers, we make it easy. Our expert Platinum iCard technicians use the latest technology and innovations to repair any make or model of vehicle on the road. Multiple locations in Iowa to get you back on the road faster. Get your free estimate today, in person or online at karlauto.com.
Your dealer for life, it's the Karl way.
The world will never be the same once you see it through the eyes of Fairway Frank.
Frank, we'll sell London broils, New York strip steaks, pork chops, pork steaks.
Frank's mama always said, life is like a T-bone steak. When you shop at Fairway, you know exactly what you're gonna get.
Hey guys, it's Chris Williams here with Cyclone Fanatic telling you about one of my favorite companies that I've worked with, and I hire them all the time. Country Landscapes. They're located up in Ames, but they have offices in eastern Iowa as well, over in North Liberty, got one up in Clear Lake. I've hired Country Landscapes to do all the landscaping in my front yard, but I've also hired them to come over and give me advice on planting trees in my front and backyard. Stuff I don't really know about, but boy, the folks at Country Landscapes are experts in this field. They also have a skilled stone mason division that creates outdoor living and cooking spaces. It's something I need to look into. Check them out. Country Landscapes. You want that dream fire pit in your backyard? That's an idea for this spring. Country Landscapes supporting our March Madness coverage of the Cyclones here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. What's going on? Welcome to Pregame here in Omaha. My name is Chris Williams. I am joined by the grizzled veteran of Cyclone Fanatic. His name is Rob Gray. Wow, what a day. We're not going to get into the drama. We're getting into the basketball game.
Yes, the madness
that's about to take place here. I stopped by, Rob, the Hilton, which is the Iowa State team hotel. I just wanted to stop by on my way over just to see what it was all about. Oh, my God. That place was absolutely insane. I thought the crowd on Thursday night pregame atmosphere was as good as I'd ever seen at any Iowa State neutral court event. I think it's going to be better tonight.
Yeah, it will be. And if it's anything like KC, I will say the best I've seen is Saturday KC.
I'm saying
almost filling that.
Yeah,
you mean a neutral court and a national stage?
Well, I'm saying like the pregame arena was just lit in there.
Yeah.
Those Kansas City crowds are unmatched.
Yep.
In general. It was just electric, but yeah, maybe it was because it just felt big because it was the NCAA tournament. But the tough Washington State team, we'll get into that. But Iowa State's going to have a huge crowd advantage today, much bigger than they did the other night.
Yeah, and their head coach Kyle Smith said essentially a road game, but they understand that, and then he gave some love to the Nebraska only fast food chain, which I don't know that many people that love it, but good for him. He's got a personality. But again, the theme, of course, is Washington State being so big, having the length that could possibly bother Iowa State. And they got a couple really good scorers. I think 4 guys averaging double figures. So it's a tough game. I mean, in they're 25-9 out of the Pac-12, sorry. And it's going to be a tough out. Anyone is once you get to the second round for sure. And that crowd really might help the Cyclones pull through. I
feel like we've talked a lot about the length. We've written about it. The one thing, and this isn't great analysis because I can't prove it. But Washington State, in a weird way, like if you're picking away parts where it could be a problem for Iowa State, they kind of feel like a team of destiny in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I could also make the point that Iowa State does as well, the way that they've been playing. But Washington State, I give their coach a ton of credit. They lose 4 starters in the transfer portal last year. They put this team back together. They get a transfer from Idaho, this freshman point guard. They've really, this Coach Smith is really like what 2024 basketball has to be about, like rebuilding your roster on a year-to-year basis. And this team analytically isn't great, but I think that like Iowa State, they're very together, which means a lot in 2024.
Yeah, and I mean, they haven't been in the tournament 15 years. team of destiny is right. You know, the way they've come together.
Yeah, just being here, I feel like that is a huge accomplishment.
And they've got more fans than you might expect.
Yes.
Coming down.
Rabid fans.
All the way from Pullman. So, I mean, I think defensively, they're pretty darn good. Offensively, they're not the greatest. So I think Iowa State can get them. The key for Iowa State will be, to me, will be taking care of the basketball itself. They got a little bit sloppy at times in the South Dakota State game. Let the Jackrabbits back into the game a little bit because Washington State does not steal the basketball. They also take care of it all right. So I think Iowa State will get its share of live ball turnovers. Their bread and butter, what they need. But the key is not turn the ball over. And they've been so good at that most of the year, barring a couple of games. That Kansas State loss then the regular season was a glaring exception to that. But they take care of the ball, shoot reasonably well, and don't get killed on the boards. I think this, like the first round, could end up being a fairly comfortable 2-possession, 3-possession win.
Take a couple of questions. Zach wants to know, a bunch of you asking about Hassan Ward and Taman Lipsey. I think they're fine. Banged up, but they've been like that all year. I think it was just Iowa State fans had some PTSD from the Niang thing, however many years ago, and they both went down. And Taman, I asked him specifically what happened, and he just got it in an odd angle. And then I think Hassan just came down in a bad way. I don't think they're playing us. I think those guys are fine. Do you?
Yeah,
Is that the vibe you're getting?
Well, the fact that they sat on the bench and went through the handshake line should tell you a lot. I mean, if it were something serious, you think Vic would have taken him back. And
I was watching
really
that. Vic didn't even.
And Vic did not look concerned at all with Taman. It's something they've been working with. He's had the shoulder issues. We all know that. So I think they're good to go. You know, you're a little battle weary or whatever. I mean, just because you're going to go through, you know, the hard knocks, you know, once you played this many games, 35 games to this point. So, yeah, I don't see any reason why they would blow smoke at us. So
I don't either.
I think they're as good as they're going to be.
Yeah, I do too. You know, the key here is, as you mentioned, the turnovers, but I think really the one thing that really does scare me about this team is they're really good half-court defense.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State struggles as a half-court offense.
They like to take you deep into the shot clock, and that's where we've really seen Iowa State struggle, even on Thursday night.
320th in tempo.
Yep,
is this Washington State team. So, man, like it is imperative as any game of the year to force turnovers and run and get them in transition because they don't like it.
Yeah, and then
that's the key. That's the game.
And they're built to withstand it or avoid it. So if you can, you know, bust that trend, you've got a real chance to, as I said, win pretty comfortably. But there's so many variables, and again, got to keep them off the glass, got to keep them from, you know, really, because the Cyclones have not rebounded the ball all that well down the stretch this season, and to see them really get back on track, I think it was a good sign. They gave up 6 offensive rebounds to South Dakota State in the first half Thursday, only 1 in the second, so they cleaned that up. Can't have them hitting the offensive glass like crazy because they won't kill you with defensive rebounds. They don't want to get out and run. You just don't want to give them second and third opportunities like any game, but particularly in this game, that's hugely important.
Do you think Iowa State wins?
I think they do.
I do too. I think this is going to be a close game, though. This is kind of, I will say I did talk to a couple of Iowa State people in the program, and I think they would rather have played Washington State compared to Drake, but I don't think that they really cared too much. But Tucker DeVries was going to be a big matchup issue.
Yeah.
Washington State, I don't think has a guy like that, but again, they're good enough in the half court, and that's kind of been Iowa State's kryptonite offensively all year. You look back to the VCU game, you know, a lot of these games where Iowa State has had these 7-8 minute droughts have been against teams with this specific profile.
Yeah.
So that's the one concern I have. I think Iowa State wins and goes to the Sweet 16. I think that it could be a double-digit win, but I think with 6-7 minutes to go, this is still one where people are paying a lot of attention.
Yeah, and Washington State is good enough, balanced enough that, you know, they could spoil, you know, the many thousands of Cyclone fans night here and the team's night. But I just feel like if Iowa State takes care of what it does what it does, you know, not very eloquent, but, you know, wins the way it usually wins.
That's the thing. Like
these the things, they're going to pull it out.
We sit here. I've been in their talks.
Yep.
we sit here and we analyze, the length, and they're just talking about what they do.
Yep.
They are not changing game to, if it's Houston, if it's Washington State, if it's Drake, they're doing the same thing. So you're right. And my point is, like, I don't know if Ward's going to be able to have the lobs. I don't know if, Momcilovic's matchup's going to be a lot different today. Those are the types of things that we have to pay close attention to.
Yeah, and I mean, Washington State might choose to really leave Robert Jones alone. He hasn't had a big scoring game since the first Kansas State game.
It's Robert. He's due.
Yeah, and I mean, if they do that, he's shown that he can make teams pay for that. I still think Trey King's got a big game in him. I mean, we'll see what happens. But again, Washington State's balanced. Iowa State's even more balanced, and they've gotten what I did the math during the Big 12 tournament. At some point, I think they'd had 7 leading scorers in the last 9 games. I mean, you don't see that very often. And that speaks to how together this team is, how they play for one another, all the cliche stuff, but it's real. And that's what teams that make deep runs in the NCAA tournament are built on.
Hopefully Iowa State's about to make one. I would love to go to Boston with you,
fun.
My friend, go and do some historical stuff around the
Freedom Trail.
Oh, I'd love to do all that. But we got a big basketball game that we're going to go cover. It's a privilege to do it for all of you. I would also like to thank all of our presenting sponsors. It's not cheap to go on the road and cover these teams like we do. Of course, wrestling going on in Kansas City right now. Huge comeback win for the Iowa State women. Connor Ferguson out there in Palo Alto. I want to thank our friends at Karl Auto Group, Country Landscapes, Fairway Meat and Grocery, Central States Roofing, and Keen Project Solutions. Let's get after it. Clones, Washington State, tipping off here in about 30 minutes. Buckle up, baby. We'll talk to you guys after the game.